Welcome to Tamara Lynette Tales. I'm Tamara, and I spill the tea on your favorite reality stars. Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 8. So this episode is where they invite their friends and family over to their places to hang out. This season, they had all of the couples come up with like a party theme and costumes, menu, like the whole works, only to have like 3 guests come over. All right, let's get into these highlights. Miguel hung out with one of his friends, and he's like, he knows how to do relationships well. Okay, Mr. Slapping your penis upside her forehead 3 hours into knowing her. So they were talking about whether or not she'd fit in with his group of friends. Then his friend made a weird comment, like, you get to make out with her. None of us are doing that. I like, are they swingers or something? Like, no judgment, just being nosy. For their party theme, they chose contestants on a game show. I believe it was The Price is Right, but they weren't allowed to say it on camera, like different network. Okay, the grape costume was my favorite. It looked so cute and uncomfortable. So Miguel met with her friends, and he said that Lindy is a sweetheart and marvelous. Marvelous? Are we still using that adjective in the 20th century? So her friends asked him if he feels like they know enough about each other. And he carries on about how she knows everything about me because we've had what we call the deep darkies conversation. So like literally she knows everything about me. Really? Does she know who your favorite Backstreet Boy is? So Lindy chatted with Miguel's friend and said, he's so funny. Now the grape said, I have to ask, do you really think he's funny? Because I'm like, whoa, you laugh at him a lot. And Lindy said, I think he's so funny. So Grapes asked if they've had any arguments yet. And Lindy talked about how Miguel really wants her to take his last name right away. But I've got a doctorate degree and I've had my name for 29 years. It means a lot to me. I want to be Santiago, but there are a lot of boxes to check for me before I'm really ready to take his name. I don't have health care, and when I asked if he would add me to his insurance, he said, well, are you taking my last name? And the Grapes was like, look, I think it's a fact that you all went from single to marriage overnight. It's banana sandwich. Let's just keep it real. I do believe that he has doubt about it being successful. So we're saying the same thing. I'm saying I don't want to take his last name until I'm sure, and he doesn't want to put me on his insurance until he knows. Fine, if you don't want to protect me, okay, that's just where we're at. But it literally cost him a phone call, and I don't get it. Ooh-wee. I don't like the way she flipped it from like, hey, will you hook me up with some insurance, to making it sound like he did something to put her in danger. But this conversation was just getting started. Later, they were in bed discussing their day, and Miguel said, what do you need from me to feel comfortable with taking my last name? Which, by the way, sounded like a question fed to him by a producer. I need a joint account. I need a plan where we're moving in 8 weeks. I need so much more. There are so many tangibles that need to happen before I can change my identity, my name. The only thing that has been given to me from day one. Okay, she's making it sound like he's asking her to go into the witness protection program. I have my doctorate degree. It's a big deal. So someone was saying that having a medical degree with a different last name can be kind of a pain, but it's doable. Just some extra paperwork when she takes on a new job or whatever. So Miguel says, you having my last name is how I envision marriage, and it matters to me, so I want my opinion to count in that regard. Fine, I don't need your last name. I don't need your insurance. If I get hit by a car and you don't want to take care of me, that's painful. You can't even extend a hand to me to see an effing physician. Then how in the hell do you expect me to take your last name? How? Miguel is like, I don't like this version of you. I don't understand why they are conflating these issues. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other. But the sense I get from these two is Lindy wants Miguel to treat her like his real wife, and Miguel wants to be treated like her husband. However, both want to pick and choose the scenarios on when they're going to treat the other one as a real spouse. For those of you who live outside of the US, generally you have about 30 days after getting married to add your spouse to your insurance. If you miss that 30-day mark, you have to wait until open enrollment in November. So honestly, I think they should table this discussion for a while. They have bigger issues to conquer, like who's going to be in charge of the remote control? So Krysten meets with one of her friends, and she's talking about the differences they have, like when it comes to clutter. He regularly comes home with stuff because he doesn't like to throw it away. He brought home an antique bookshelf that looked like it came out of a sewer in Vietnam. Okay, is a sewer in Vietnam more gross than any other country sewer? Asking for a friend. For our housewarming party, I wanted to do like a French theme with charcuteries, and he vetoed my idea because he wanted to do a zombie apocalypse or dress up like how they think they would if the world was coming to an end. Finally, we landed on retrofuturism, like how they envisioned the future in the 50s and 60s. That's actually kind of a cute idea, but she really needs to stop letting Mitch have his way all the time when she really doesn't agree with him. So she sits down to have this super serious conversation with Mitch about her relationship past, and she proceeds to tell him about finding out that her ex-fiance was cheating on her 6 months before the wedding, but she's telling the story of if she was the one who cheated. Like, she's afraid he's gonna say no on decision day after hearing the story. So she said, it was a destination wedding, so I told everyone that I would still like to have the wedding, but without a groom. That's kind of weird. Oh, sorry. Oh, Mitch, your little thong sandals must be so tasty because you like live with your foot in your mouth. So in the end, Mitch was actually very nice about it and said he'd never do that to her. Later, they are prepping for the party, and after all that back and forth, Mitch wears a Star Trek costume with the Kristoff wig from Frozen. Meanwhile, Krysten is being a little passive-aggressive. She said, I can't wait for the next party for me to plan it. It could be fun next time to just be with each other rather than worry about the containers for Jell-O shots. So they cut to Krysten talking to the camera, explaining that she purchased plastic Jell-O shot glasses and Mitch lost his mind, so she had to return them and purchase metal ones that were like 20 times more expensive. I'm wondering if he pitched in on the cost. So the party guests begin to arrive, and one of Krysten's friends brings her what looks like a Starbucks coffee, and Mitch whispers to his friend, they didn't get the memo that plastic is bad in the future. I mean, this man behaves like plastic doesn't even exist in this country, and she's like importing it from a Vietnam sewer or someplace. Everyone gathered around and took a liquid Jell-O shot. I mean, there was nothing Jell-O about those shots. So anyway, Krysten went with her friends to another part of their complex. Now, for some reason, they didn't show them chatting with each other's friends. She told them that he's easy to live with. However, his extremist environmentalism is a little hard for me. I'm trying to find a way to not feel like I'm walking on eggshells around him because I use plastic or something, because I do feel he's right about this stuff. Girl, life is too short to be living with someone who's stressing you out about plastic. I agree with her friend who said that he needs to adapt to her as well. Now, that friend said her red flag is that Mitch hasn't been in a relationship in 8 years. She said, is he fulfilling your needs, checking your boxes, or are you just in the moment and trying to make this work? I feel like I haven't thought about this until now in terms of box checking. He does have a lot of great qualities, but I do feel we need to make this work simply because we're married. Krysten is too busy organizing his red flags rather than reading them and putting him in check. So Mitch sat down with his friends, and the one friend said, we're kind of extreme environmentalists. How's that going? She's trying, and I can't expect her to all of a sudden be like me. So he explained that he decided that he would go to his friend's house and borrow a bunch of toys for the decorations, but she had already filled up her online shopping cart with a bunch of things, and the friend was like, oh, she was having fun with the idea of shopping like the only way she knows. Like, how did you resolve that? And then he proudly points to the table. The Jell-O shots are in reusable containers. The only problem is I'm not getting much sleep. I was so elated that I got a wife that doesn't snore, then she has a dog that snores. I'm the odd man out here, not understanding why this dog is so precious, because to me, he's just a useless creature that breathes loudly. Well, it sounds like you have more in common with the dog than you thought. We've got our first official nickname of the season. So Justin said his friends and family call him Tree. If Justin is a tree, then I'm sure he'd be a weeping willow. So from now on, I will be referring to him as Weeping Willow. Alexis talks to her friend online. She tells her friend about the dog fight, the 2-week training camp, and their agreement that if the dog is still aggressive, that it will go live with his best friend. So she told her friend that Weeping Willow told her that he loves her, and the friend asked, what did you say? Nothing. You know I wanted to run. Nothing. Girl, you laughed in that man's face. So her friend's questionable advice was, once you say I love you, it's like you've opened Pandora's box. It will be harder to close it and easier to get hurt. Later, we see Alexis in her car explaining that her dog was throwing up blood and that Weeping Willow didn't tell her that her dog hadn't eaten in 2 days, but continued to give him medication on an empty stomach. So, an important thing to note here is that on After Party, Weeping Willow said that Alexis left and went back to her place for 2 days and gave the impression that she left her sick child, with Weeping Willow to take care of it. Now that's a big puzzle piece to this story that she left out. We were shown an argument that they had about Weeping Willow not telling her about her dog's health, not oversharing, but being very vague. It was heated and a lot of yelling and cussing. So their party was a 90s theme. They show Alexis walking into a candy store by herself to purchase stuff for the party. So they cut to her on the confessional cam in her car, and she said that she's still gonna plan the party even if it may not happen, and hopes if the party does happen, she can get some insight on Weeping Willow and his ways and where she went wrong as well. So Weeping Willow rolls up late after Alexis has already picked out all their candy, and they sit down and Alexis asks how he's feeling. Fine, I'm not upset with you. Since when? Because this morning you were cursing and yelling. So he complains about her saying that she's done when they fight every time, and she's like, it's clear that you are not listening to me. I say I'm done with this conversation, which means I'm done talking about it because you don't hear me. So he said the reason he didn't over-communicate is because he felt like he was handling it. You just said the reason I didn't over-communicate when I asked you to over-communicate. That's the bottom line. And for me to be upset with someone who was once rainbows and sunshine is just draining. If that's the case, I just won't say anything at all. Okay, this was like watching a high schooler argue with his aunt. So he goes on to say, you get a rouse out of this drama, and that's cool, you like it. So Alexis is mad, and she's like, I can't communicate with you and all of this hostility. I don't know what to do. I'm not in a good space. So she walks over to production and asks them to take off her microphone and just leaves. After watching After Party and learning that Alexis left her so-called child with this man, I'm like, girl, don't be dumping your child on my lap for 2 days and then fuss at me because you don't like my parenting skills. So later, Alexis and Weeping Willow are moping around the house, decorating for the party. I assume that they were so caught up in their emotions that they forgot to ask their friends to dress up for the party, because one of their friends was like, I wish I would have known the dress code. So they sit down to eat, and Alexis downloads them on their argument while apologizing to Weeping Willow that she didn't tell him that she was going to talk about it. So he said that she drills him, but he needs time to come up with his thoughts, and since he doesn't have time, they can come across as being contradictory. So Alexis sits down with Weeping Willow's friend. She explains that she doesn't blame him for the dog attack. Like, you can't predict what your dog does. No, but you both can pay attention to the warning signs of her growling at your dog. So his friend was like, guys don't always think about things beforehand, and after it happens, they're like, oh yeah, my dog, like, you know what I mean? No, sir, I do not. Alexis, I'm sorry, boo. You've been getting bad advice all week. So Weeping Willow chatted with her friends, and he asked what he should do when Alexis gets upset, because her family said to give her space, and he does that, but it may come across as being dismissive. Not true. Earlier we saw her say twice that she's done with the conversation, and not only did he keep going, but he accused her of enjoying the drama. Woo, this couple fell off the love cliff like a rock. Morgan chats with someone she considers to be her chosen older brother. She says, all the red flags that he's had for me, like financial stuff, family stuff, it's all very surface level things. Family and finances is not surface level. The majority of marriages in the US end over finances, Mrs. Surface Level. So she says, there's never been a red flag about my personality or who I am or my character. Except the part when he thought you were lying about your occupation, though. I don't think he see me for the person that I am, but I'm also not making it easy by having my walls up. Her brother friend told her to take her walls down, like, growth is painful. Open up, let that crap go. It's just so hard. Yeah, it's hard to deal with someone who misunderstood the lie you told. And for the nurses out there, I get that it doesn't matter whether she has an associate's or a bachelor's degree, but no matter what field you're working in, teaching, admin assistant, speechwriter for a frog, either you are on record for having a bachelor's degree or you're not. She is the one making a big deal about her degree by turning it into this huge dark secret. I don't get it. So Ben met with his friend and he gave him a quick rundown about him sharing her little secret and misunderstanding what she meant. But now she's giving him mixed signals. In one breath, she's saying she has her walls up and being distant. Then in the next, she's telling Pastor Cal that he needs to give her more PDA. So he's confused and doesn't know what to do to make her happy. And his friend says it takes time. Even after living with someone for 2 years, it takes more than that to know if this person is truly your person. I believe if he is in a constant state of mixed signals and not knowing what to do to please her, then she's not his person. So their party theme was tacos and tequila. And of all the couples, they had the blandest party in terms of decorations. There was like this cheap sombrero and a plant. So their friends asked them about the honeymoon. And Ben is reluctant to give an answer. He's like, we're trying to work on some things. And Morgan's yelling, be honest, keep it real. And whispers to a friend, I like how he's actually not trying to say how it was. Girl, the whole reason you threw up your damn wall is because he told your business. Of course he's confused about what he should and shouldn't share at this point. You tell them what happened. So everybody's pressuring Ben to tell the story of what happened at the honeymoon. And he's like, well, long story short. And Morgan's like taunting him, just elaborate, tell the whole story, tell the truth. If I were Ben, I'd say, okay, she told me that she lied about the type of degree she has and I misunderstood what she meant. But we never got to hear him tell the story. Instead, Morgan's friend said, let's go outside and talk. So they go outside and he explains that he was in his head and was judgmental and he's apologized to her on and off camera and that everybody and their baby mama got an apology from him. He says, I'm trying to make it right. I buy her flowers randomly. I bought her favorite chicken sausage from the grocery store and she doesn't see the effort. Chicken sausage? Okay, that was random but cute, Ben. Her friend said it could take Morgan a long time to forgive. Child, we only have 8 weeks. We don't have time for her and her walls. This ain't HGTV. So Morgan talks to Ben's friend and says, so we get to the honeymoon. He sits me down and says, I don't like how we're starting out this honeymoon with a lie. So she goes on to say that he said, I pinky swear that we will not talk about finances or family on the honeymoon. And then the next day he said, your finances are a red flag to me. Your family is a red flag. You're not trying hard enough to have certain relationships. Okay, Ben did come in kind of hot, but he did see the error in his ways and apologize. And his friends were like, are you gonna hold this over him until he dies? And she's like, yeah, I've said since the beginning of this process, when you hurt me, I'm done. Ben has hurt me very deeply. I'm not used to working through something like this, which explains why she's still single. So his friend said, if Ben walked in right now and I asked if she was a nurse or not, what would he say? He would say yes. Okay, so just forgive and forget. So it's clear to me that Morgan is afraid of being hurt and perhaps subconsciously looking for any reason to push Ben away from like day one. When you think about the challenges average marriages have to work through, this is a nothing sandwich. She ain't ready. So Nate met with his friend and he's happy there's chemistry and it feels like a real relationship. And to me, it kind of felt like production had the friend ask if he has been opening up to her because he knows he has had a hard exterior sometimes. Nate said that he's going to start therapy to work on processing his feelings and be able to go a little deeper. And his friend asked if he told Stacia about the therapy. And he's like, yeah, she was very happy about my decision. My decision? She asked you to go to therapy like on day 3. Man, this conversation felt a little fake to me, like it was producer driven. So they had their little 70s party and Nate goes outside to chat with Stacia's friend and sister to talk about what is really bothering him. And he said his concern is that Stacia wants kids, but he's never seen her with kids and she's kind of a workaholic. How do I know how she's going to be around kids when she doesn't even like dogs? I've never seen her with kids and she doesn't like dogs. Really? That's all you got, Nate? So Stacia sits down and chats with Nate's friends, and she expresses concern about Nate wanting to wait 3 to 4 years for kids. In 3 to 4 years, I'll be 41 to 40 years old. And his friend said that since he didn't have a mother in the picture growing up, he may want to know that he can provide for his family without Stacia's income. So Stacia said, I don't want my kids to struggle either, and for me, this is a forever thing. His other friend said that she may need to keep reinforcing that because he may have a little abandonment complex and he just needs to hear that reassurance. I hear where they're both coming from on the kid front. Like Nate is younger and wants to fulfill some goals before he has kids, whereas Stacia is older, in a good place career-wise, and is ready now to work on building a family of their own. So good luck with all that. So the ladies and men sit down separately to rehash the problems in their marriages and a couple of good things too, I guess. The wives talk about the amount of time they're spending with their husband. Alexis said Weeping Willow likes talking to her while she's on the toilet. So he's like, can I get a kiss while she's going number 2? Nothing like the smell of a number 2 to get you in the mood for kissing. Blah. So Alexis told him that Weeping Willow's dog attacked hers and they all pretended like they didn't know. Oh no, what? Come on now, we know she told you when it happened 3 days ago. So Krysten says he wakes up early and he makes me coffee. He watches reality TV with me. I think this is like a lifetime marriage. And Alexis asked Krysten if they consummated their marriage, and she said, yeah, morning, noon, and night. I can't get this man off me if I tried. Oh, that's why Mitch is so happy. He's probably gotten laid more in the past couple of days than he did in the last 8 years of being single. So Morgan says, I'm trying to accept that Ben made a very big mistake and my walls are up. I have no idea how to bring this wall down. Can someone hand this chick a sledgehammer, please? Enough with the walls already. So most of the husbands seem to be in like animal kingdom hell. Mitch said they're going good and better than he ever thought it would be, but her dog snores like an old fat guy. He's wrong for that, but it's true. So Ben says he can relate because he thinks he's allergic to cats. No, you're allergic to Morgan's wall. And then Miguel said Lindy's cat bit him. And we all know Weeping Willow's pet stories. Nate and Stacia are the only ones who don't have pet issues. Anyway, we know Mr. Miguel is all about the sex, and he said, I need to know who else has consummated their marriage. Weeping Willow said that he's tried, but he's gotten shot down. So to the confessional cam, Nate says he's confused because Weeping Willow is the conservative one, and Alexis was making a stink about it. So now that Weeping Willow is ready, and she's saying no, like, I'm a little thrown off by that. Now, I believe that Alexis thinks her husband is a good guy, but she's not turned on by him. So to Weeping Willow, Mitch chimes in about the sex and says, I know it's going to be a cosmic event when it happens. It's going to be a supernova. Then Peanut Gallery Ben says it's going to last 2 minutes, which sounded like a dig against Mitch for being a quick shooter the first time he had sex with Krysten. So Weeping Willow says, how about you, Nate? So he takes a little pause. So, we haven't consummated the marriage yet, but let's just say that I have dessert after dinner. You dig? And then 5 minutes later, fireworks. Dude, why are you talking like a player? That's your wife. So Miguel asked Ben that if Morgan didn't have her walls up, would he be more affectionate? And he said yes. Mitch gave Ben his slimy advice. It's kind of like when you're in high school and you're making out and your hand slides down to her boob and she swats it away and says no. Then a few minutes later, your hand slides back down to her boob. You just gotta test the waters. Ben, Mitch hasn't been able to hold on to a woman for the past 8 years. Do not take his advice. So after the gathering, we see Miguel and Lindy talking about what each of them said about each other to the other couples. So, of course, they talked about the Santiago insurance situation. And Miguel said, I was surprised how you came down on me so hard. I'm not proud of the way I spoke to you, but I wasn't feeling heard. I wasn't feeling secure in what you were telling me, and then I was defensive. But you need to see these sides of me that suck, and I need to see the sides of you that suck, so we can really decide if this is a person I want to be with forever. Girl, what are you talking about decide? You said decision day was a trigger because this is a forever thing as far as you're concerned. So in the end, Miguel said that if you want to be on my insurance, I will put you on my insurance because I do like the idea of us being married. That's all I needed to hear. I was surprised to hear him say that, but I believe Miguel is starting to catch some feelings over there, which is what this show is all about. And some of you have commented how I never do a sign off on my videos. Okay, bye.